25 years of Final Destination films. I just saw the latest installment, Final Destination Bloodlines. Let's talk about it. But before we really get into it, let us take a moment and just appreciate Tony Todd and all that he has given us in his very long career. This man is absolutely terrifying. I mean, he's Candyman. And the sound of his voice, like you kind of just humble yourself a little bit when you see him. And yet there's something comforting about his presence on screen in these films. It's the strangest thing. And this is no different. Seeing him for the last time, because this is the last time. This was his last on-screen film role before he passed last year. When he exited the frame, I cried. I cried because I'm like, this is it. We're never going to see him again. And what a way to kind of tie up loose ends. But in this economy, is this here movie worth the ticket? Again, this is the sixth film in the Final Destination franchise, which started in 2000. So what, 25 years of these movies. And up until this point, every movie has pretty much been the same. Just, the kills are a little bit different. Just to recap the way these movies go, somebody has a premonition about a mass in which a whole bunch of people just go. Well, they snap from their premonition, realize, holy crap, this is about to happen. They sound the alarm, give a warning, save a bunch of people's lives, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And then the event happens, and it's like, holy crap, why did we survive? Survivor's guilt to the max. But then it's okay, though, because that guilt is alleviated by the fact that they're all about to go anyway because Death had a plan, and they were part of Death's plan, and they messed up Death's plan, and now Death is pissed off. So Death goes back and tries to take them out one by one in the craziest ways possible. And that's basically what this entire franchise has been about. Destiny and, is your life really mapped out for you? Like, is it really preordained? And if it is preordained, can you mess up that plan? It makes complete sense to me, culturally speaking, that these movies would start to come out in the year 2000, just as millennials are coming into adolescence, because a lot of our favorite childhood films were all about, coming face to face, confronting, accepting, and embracing your mortality. Now, this is where I start to nerd out a little bit. Fun fact for those who do not know, whenever you're watching a movie and you see a train, that typically means that there's a shift in the plot. Something's changing. We're shifting gears. We're pivoting, if you will. Something's changed. The first thing we see in this film are train tracks. Now, the movie hasn't started yet. And if the movie hasn't started yet, then what is shifting in the plot? It's not the plot so much that's shifting. It's the franchise. I don't want you to go in here thinking, well, I've seen one. I've seen them all. They're all the same. This is a little bit different. We're shifting from the very beginning. So that formula that we're used to, it breaks. It starts off like we normally expect it to, but then it breaks and it moves differently. This film moves differently than those previous 5. This one is a little more sentimental. We're anchored into something very specific. Instead of just random strangers, we're focused on a family. Instead of a family tree with branches, we're more so dealing with rope with loose thread. And Death is coming in and trying to either snip off or tie up all those loose ends. This is your spoiler warning, if you will. I don't want to say alert because I don't know if there's no way to really talk about this without spoiling it just a little bit. So we start off with what we believe to be a premonition of a woman named Iris and her date Paul at the Skyview Tower, and they're having a good time dancing, and all of a sudden the floor caves in because they made a big deal about this super tall in the sky restaurant that's made out of reinforced steel, concrete, and glass. Well, that glass dance floor in which you can see through to the bottom starts to break, and mayhem ensues, and it's just crazy because the floor is breaking, windows are cracking, something goes on fire, there's an explosion, and people are just dying in the craziest of ways because this is Final Destination, correct? And then in true Final Destination form, we snap out of it and we realize, holy crap, none of that actually happened. It was a premonition. But this is the trick. It wasn't Iris's premonition we were seeing. It was her granddaughter Stephanie's dream. Fast forward some 50 years later, and all of a sudden her granddaughter Stephanie has been plagued with this reoccurring dream of her grandmother and this disaster at this restaurant, and it's messing up everything to the point where she's on academic probation at school. She decides to go home and she wants to find out more information. She wants to meet this long-lost grandmother whom she's never met, this crazy, wonky woman that no one wants to talk about, manages to get in touch with her, and that's when she learns all the things that we already know about Final Destination. Death in the Final Destination franchise is its own character, this invisible presence that's almost physical, that has its own personality. It's interesting watching this new character, if you will, Stephanie, try to tango with death, this presence that she cannot see, that she doesn't really understand, and that's aggressively trying to harm her. I think what's different in this movie is that death really kind of manifests into a person, if you will, instead of this ominous thing that's over there. Two big questions I'm sure you'll have. First question is, do I need to watch all 5 films in order to understand what's happening here? No. At the very least, you need to watch the first one, maybe the second one, just to get some references here and there. If you know, you know. But I think it would be beneficial to watch at least the first one, even though this kind of deviates from that normal narrative structure that is Final Destination. There are certain things, motifs, things that are repeated in all of the films that I think are vital to understand here. If you've never seen Final Destination 2, like, what rock are you living under? Like, how? Number 2, is the movie any good? Is it worth a ticket in this economy? Yes. That was so much fun. That was fun. I miss these kinds of movies. I miss the slasher movies of the 90s going into 2000s where they were bloody and gross and, squeamish just a little bit, but they were so much fun. I mean, the carnage is wonderful here. It's not as heavy as it was in previous films, I think. It's outrageous, as it should be. Like, physically speaking, when I say physically, I mean physics. It's impossible. Like, what we're seeing here is impossible. But you know what? I don't care. That was cool. I'm never getting an MRI. The next time a vending machine takes my money, I'm just going to let them have it. They can have it. You know what? I don't need those barbecue chips. The comic relief in this, I think, is well placed, and it's balanced very well with the sentimentalness of the movie. There is an emotional anchor here. It's emotionally heavier than previous movies because, again, we're dealing with a singular family instead of just a bunch of strangers. I loved some of the consistency with the different motifs in here, where we're focusing on like a single element, and that's glass. And that just repeats throughout the film, the shattering of glass, kind of mimicking the shattering of these family trees. And I love how the franchise, including this movie here, just plays around with basic narrative elements like foreshadowing, obvious foreshadowing. Like, it's not even supposed to be a secret. It's not even subtle. You already know something does something. It's like, oh, that's going to be useful later, but you don't know how it's going to be useful later. That's always the mystery. You know that object right there is going to do damage. You're just kind of waiting for it to do damage. And then when it does the damage, it's like, the first 2 films in the franchise to me are just top tier. Like, Final Destination 2 is my favorite. Final Destination 4 sucked. Final Destination 5 was just okay, and then it got to the end, and it's like, oh. So I would put this right behind Final Destination 1 and 2 in terms of where does this rank and, how good is it in comparison. Everyone likes 3. A lot of people like 3. There's nothing to hate about 3, but I'm very partial to 1 and 2. And I loved the emotional center of gravity in here. I loved how layered this movie was, especially in comparison to those last 2, which were just disturbingly simple. And I've used the word simple before on this channel. Like, sometimes simple is good, but when your movie is so simple it lacks plot, we have a problem. And with a movie such as these, where we're all here for one thing, we're here for the kills. We're here to see how people are going to go out. We're here to see how people are going to meet Jesus. Like, that is what we're all here for. Kind of like a monster movie. Like, we're all here for Godzilla. So if we're all here for Godzilla, then don't make the human part too complicated. You have to find a balance. There's good balance. But nah, that was so much fun. I've been looking forward to that one for a minute. That was good fun. That was fun. I love that. That's a summer movie. Like, that was nasty.